Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Do you like small laptops? Because I love small laptops. The smaller that these things get and the more powerful they become, the more happier I am. It's less weight on my back and it's less stuff that I have to pack. This is the 13-inch Matebook, and today, this is what we're gonna be talking about. But first, I gotta give a quick shout out to this video's sponsor. So if you're like me, then you like to learn stuff. And if you like to learn stuff, that means you gotta do some research. And unfortunately, if you research on your own, then it might take you quite a while. But what if you could find all the information that you need in one small little learning community? Well, that's where Skillshare comes in. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with more than 25,000 classes in design, business, and more. A premium membership gives you unlimited access so you can join the classes and communities that are just right for you and your New Year goals. Whether you want to fuel your curiosity, creativity, or even career, Skillshare is the perfect place to keep you learning and thriving in 2019. Shout out to all the 2019 go-getters. Let me know down below what your goals are for 2019. For me, I want to start a family, so we're going to start planning a baby this year, but also I want my business to thrive. I want it to grow outside of YouTube, plus I want to get my own office. In order to do that, I've been taking a few classes on Skillshare whenever I have some free time on business, how to manage a business, marketing, how to get more clients. Skillshare is also super affordable. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. I've already told you guys once, maybe twice, 10 bucks a month is not a lot of money. What is that, like 2 coffees at Starbucks? You might as well cut back on your drinking and spend more time thinking. Plus, you can join more than 7 million creators with Skillshare, and for the first 500 subscribers to use the link in the description of this video, you can get 2 free months of premium access to get your learning game on. Just do it, people, just do it. The Huawei Matebook 13 builds off the small and mighty Matebook X Pro, which I'm personally not upset about. It features an aluminum build and comes in 3 different colors. There's Silver Moon, Deep Gray, and Cherry Powder. The unit that I have is the deep gray color, which almost has a dark blue shine to it depending on the lighting condition. The overall build is incredible and rivals the build of Apple's laptops all day. From the chamfered edges to the rock solid feel of the Matebook 13, anyone who picks up this laptop will not be disappointed, I can assure you. In terms of its size, when compared to the 12-inch MacBook, it's only a hair bigger, but it's also heavier. For and giggles, when compared to the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, the 13-inch Matebook is again only a tiny bit larger, and of course, the 15-inch MacBook Pro just swallows it whole. Honestly though, it's not that much smaller than the X Pro, which if you've never used that laptop was already a ridiculously small laptop for its size. And this is due to a couple reasons. A, of course, the 13-inch Matebook does have a smaller display, and B, the 13-inch Matebook has worse screen to body ratio versus the X Pro. You're looking at 88% compared to 91%. Not too bad, but there is a difference. Huawei moved the webcam from being hidden in the function keys on the X Pro to being placed at the top of the display on a 13-inch Matebook, which is a more traditional placement. This is another reason why the 13-inch Matebook does have a worse screen to body ratio versus the X Pro. The good thing is you do get a more flattering angle versus being pointed directly up your nose. The bad thing is the quality still isn't that good because it's a single megapixel camera, so it's gonna shoot at 720p. Here's a quick example of what the webcam looks like on the 13-inch Matebook. You can see the quality really isn't that good. It is only 1 megapixel, so it's actually recording video in 720p. Have no idea how good the audio is, but yeah, at least it's got a good placement, so kind of like eye to eye. I don't know. The port selection on the Matebook 13 is probably its biggest weakness in my personal opinion. On one side, you have a headphone jack and a USB-C port, and on the other side, you have another USB-C port. Neither one of these support Thunderbolt 3, which is the first issue. The other issue is you don't get identical functionality out of both USB-C ports. In other words, the left side supports data transfers and charging, while the right side supports data transfers and DisplayPort. This may not seem like a big deal to you, but I've been in several circumstances where I really could have used the right side to charge the Matebook, and it just doesn't work. When I first heard about the 13-inch Matebook, I was a little worried that the keyboard was going to be cramped. That being said, I've been using it consistently for 2 weeks and all my worries are gone. The typing experience is excellent and easily one of my favorite keyboards on any laptop. This is due to the chiclet style keys, its spacious, easy to find layout, the tactility with its 1.2 millimeters of key travel, and the fact that it's pretty damn quiet while typing. In order to create the compact form factor of the Matebook 13, a sacrifice needed to be made when you compare it to the Matebook X Pro. The Matebook X Pro had speakers that aligned the keyboard, which sounded awesome. But on the 13-inch Matebook, they've been moved to the bottom of the laptop, and I'm not a fan. Don't get me wrong, they do sound great, and thanks to the Dolby Atmos support, you do get a premium speaker experience on a laptop. However, bottom-firing speakers on laptops easily become muffled and distorted when they're covered, like when you use them on your lap, hence the name laptop. I don't like it. The one-touch fingerprint reader and power button combo sits nicely right above the keyboard and offers a clean aesthetic and great functionality. I gotta say, it's really convenient to be able to turn on your laptop with a single press, and then it reads your fingerprint instantly, then logs you in once it's done booting up, so you don't have to press that single button twice just to get into your computer. I know it may not sound like a lot, but guess what? It's a bunch of little things that add up to one big experience. I like it. Like the keyboard, the trackpad is also spacious for this type of compact Windows laptop. However, if you're used to the gigantic trackpads found on Apple's MacBooks, then this is gonna look tiny in comparison. Nonetheless, it's a good trackpad, and thanks to the support for Windows precision drivers, it delivers an excellent, responsive, and accurate experience. It's easily one of the best trackpads that I've personally used on a Windows laptop, including ones from Microsoft's Surface lineup and even the Dell XPS lineup. Unlike the Matebook X Pro's 3K display, the 13-inch Matebook is rocking a 2K display, which still looks incredible. It supports touch input and 100% of the sRGB color gamut. The downside is that with a max of 300 nits for brightness, combined with the glossy display, you're not going to be using this outside under the sun or in extremely bright situations. I tried to use it outside of my local coffee shop just to type up a few things, and it wasn't until I moved under an umbrella that provided shade that the display became doable, so that should say a lot. But other than that, the display is excellent. Viewing angles are on point, and it provides a kick-ass media consumption experience. Speaking of content consumption, I think it's time to dig into the internal specs and performance to find out what exactly you can consume. The model that I have features an Intel Whiskey Lake 8565U quad-core processor, 8GB of RAM, and the NVIDIA MX150 2GB GPU with a TDP of 25 watts. For storage, it's equipped with a 512GB NVMe SSD. In terms of its upgradeability, you can open up the laptop by removing these 6 screws located on the back side and then popping off the rubber feet very carefully and removing 4 more screws. It's important to note that each of the rubber feet have like a sticky adhesive on them. You can remove the adhesive once you're finished, or you can replace it with something like Topstick. Inside, you'll notice that not a lot of components can be upgraded. The RAM is soldered onto the motherboard, which is a bummer, but the SSD can be upgraded, and you can also upgrade the Wi-Fi card if that's something you're into. My particular model has a Samsung SSD and an Intel Wi-Fi card, so I think unless you're just trying to bump up your storage, taking this laptop apart is pretty much useless. While we have it opened up, we can get a closer look at one of the unique features of the Matebook 13, which is the SharkFan 2.0 cooling solution. Basically, it's a redesigned laptop fan that's supposed to offer better cooling with decreased noise when you compare it to other laptop solutions. I'll agree that the Matebook 13 is significantly quieter than my 15-inch MacBook, but we're talking about a 15-inch MacBook that has A, a better GPU, and B, a more powerful processor, so the fans are probably going to be bigger, and they need to ramp up to be more powerful to relieve a lot of that heat. I can't compare it to other 13-inch laptops because I've never used a 13-inch laptop that actually had a fan. Just throwing that out there. Performance-wise, the fan definitely helps, especially when combined with the new Whiskey Lake processor, which isn't a significant improvement over Coffee Lake, but does offer better efficiency and slightly better performance. Simple stuff like web browsing, checking your emails, watching a movie, basic productivity stuff, not an issue. I was able to edit in Lightroom and do a multi-layered project in Photoshop, which was my latest Instagram post of my dog, which I gotta say came out pretty damn good with ease. I was able to edit 4K Sony a7 III footage in Premiere Pro with Lumetri color applied to an additional layer. Playback was a little choppy at full resolution, but at a half res, it's completely doable. A 30-second timeline exported in a little over a minute and a half, which isn't terrible for this laptop's form factor. Personally, I could easily get away with taking the Matebook 13 with me for event coverage and do all of my photo and video work comfortably on this laptop, especially when more than likely I'm going to be uploading in 1080p due to Wi-Fi speeds anyways. Let's switch things up and talk about something more intensive, gaming. Obviously, this isn't a gaming laptop, and if that's your primary focus, just stop this video and go find something else. I was able to play Doom on high with consistent frame rates between the high 30s to high 40s, which is definitely passable. I played Dying Light with the foliage set to medium and film grain off, which was not the greatest experience, so I definitely don't recommend that title on this laptop at all. Dead by Daylight was another title I tried with graphics set to ultra, and I consistently had fantastic performance even though it's not an extremely system-hungry title. All in all, games like PUBG, Fortnite, and Rocket League should run pretty good on this laptop. So for the casual gamer, you're gonna be just fine. Battery life is pretty decent on the Matebook 13. Huawei states that you're gonna get 10 hours of 1080p playback, but really this is gonna come down to where you have your brightness set. For me personally, I typically keep the brightness all the way up at 100% because 300 nits is just not that bright. And I average between 6 to 7 hours of battery life doing things like emails and web browsing and watching some YouTube videos. The good thing is the 65-watt charger that is included in the box does support quick charging. Huawei states that you can get roughly about 2.5 hours of office use off a 15-minute charge. For me, this is very doubtful for my workload, but if you're just doing basic office tasks and you have your brightness set at like 50%, I could see that this could be possible. The 13-inch Matebook starts at $999 for the entry-level i5 variant with a 256GB SSD and Intel 620 UHD graphics. For the maxed out model that I have, you're looking at $1,299. Now, if you're like me, then you might have immediately thought, wow, this thing is overpriced. But let's take a quick look at some of the competition. The equivalent Dell XPS 13-inch is almost $1,500 and it doesn't come with the MX150. It only has 256GB of storage and it has a lower resolution display. The Razer equivalent, which is a bit more enticing, comes with 16GB of RAM, a 1080p matte display, a 4GB MX150 GPU, but only has 256GB of storage and comes in at $1,599. There are other offerings from different manufacturers such as Asus that do have 13-inch laptops for cheaper, but you might take a hit on build quality. I would say for the money, the biggest competitor is the Razer Blade Stealth. One thing to keep in mind is that a lot of these competitors, including Apple's MacBook Air, include Thunderbolt 3. They might be lesser spec'd and more expensive. They do have the Thunderbolt 3 option. I really think Huawei missed out by not putting that on the 13-inch Matebook, especially when they could have done it on one port only. Truthfully, even Huawei's own Matebook X Pro, when it's on sale for $1,200, could potentially be its biggest competitor because yeah, it does have dated specs. You are getting Thunderbolt 3, you're getting a better display, and you're getting a better sound experience in a form factor that's only slightly bigger. Ultimately, I think the Matebook 13-inch is a great value for what you're getting, and I think if you can hold off for a little bit, prices will start to come down as soon as suppliers get more stock and they go on sale. If you're a student or a business person, this is a great option because you can walk into class or a meeting, pull this out and not look like a clown and be able to do all of your work comfortably. But on the flip side, if you're a gamer or a graphic designer that deals a lot with 3D modeling and compositing, or someone that does intensive video editing outside of just 1080p, this is definitely not the computer for you. It's just gonna disappoint you, so just skip it. In any case, what do you guys think of the 13-inch Matebook? Me personally, I really like the form factor of this computer. I love how powerful it is, and I can't wait to see what other laptop manufacturers come out with throughout the year because hell, we're only in January and this thing is pretty exciting. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you enjoyed this video, drop it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe for new content. If you want to be alerted when that content drops, make sure to click that bell icon. It only takes you a second. Of course, I'll talk to you guys in the next video.
I've been walking in the snow, searching through the night. Little did I know that you would be that light, like an